Hi and welcome to Exile News, and we have recently found a strategy where you can fish for the seer and get yourself a... Oh, sorry, that's been nerfed. There's another strategy where you can fish for divine... Also nerfed. New strategy involving rogue exiles and beyond, where you can farm tons of... Also nerfed. Okay. There is a final strategy. It involves meat sacks and ghosting them into... Alright, pack it up. Pack it up.
Soul. I need a grave digger.
On a serious note, this league has been a bit of a weird one, and I wanted to make a quick video talking about it. So obviously we started out with seeing like seer farming and divine farming where people would just spam multiple maps, and maps actually got to a pretty crazy price. I think people were buying like 5 tier 16s for one divine or something. I can't remember exactly because I don't play softcore, but I remember seeing the price and I'm like, that's messed up. If you don't know, they were trying to farm the devoted modifiers to get the divine conversion, or that, you know, you could put in frogs and there would be a percentage chance for divines, and that would be really high. And that was very gutted. So far, since the nerf, I've been playing 12 to 15 hours per day, and I haven't seen the divine mod a single time since. A better solution, obviously, as the community has said multiple times, would have been if there was a similar mechanic to the way it works in the campaign, that what you find in the next map depends on how much you cleared in the previous map. So that opening a map and reopening would just not be a viable strategy, right? And that you would have a big chance of finding it, or actual chance of finding it, if you were mapping normally, actual gameplay. So those two strategies were gone. And then next up, we first had the anarchy or exile farming with like Ruckus, and there were a lot of experimentation going on there to see what was going to be the best. I started doing some ritual farming, other people started doing gigantification, and there were loads of different anarchy strategies. And this seemed to stick for quite some time. And I think what happened here is that GGG were like, this is maybe a little bit out of hand, but it's not completely broken, right? It's similar to last league. And I think they were intending on letting us have that. And then comes Fabgun. As you can see in the background, Fabgun started doing the anarchy strategy with Beyond. And that's the Beyond portal spawn per rogue exile. So basically what he was doing, he would bring like between 200 and 1,000 rogue exiles to a map, and unique monsters spawn a Beyond portal. Or loads of Beyond portals. And the TLDR is he would have roughly 20,000 monsters in the map. He would do all the divination card scarab things, and he farmed 10 raw mirrors in one day, probably like total value of a lot more than that. But either way, it was pretty crazy. So then the everything to do with exiles got nerfed. Exile got reduced to 1 unique. It got completely nerfed. It's dead. Like both my strategy and the one that was like very clearly messed up was dead. And then Ben and a few other people started farming ghosted meat sacks in tier 17s. Now this requires an insane build. And even though Ben has pretty much every defense known to man on his character, he has the Maven Flask, he has Defiance of Destiny, he's just ungodly in Mage Blood and godly tanky, right? And very few people could do this last strategy. I was not able to do it, and I do have like a 700 divine character, and I was still scared to try it because it is so rippy, and he almost died with all those. Part of the meat sack strategy that was a bit bugged was that with back to basics, no other things should be spawning. So the ghost spawning from Eternal Torment was not intended to happen. So very few were able to do the last strategy, and somebody was joking in Ben's chat saying, Ben's staying up for 20 hours farming this before it gets nerfed. That guy was right. That is exactly what happened. The meat sack strategy did get nerfed as well. He was doing it on hardcore. He was probably the only person doing it on hardcore, or one of the few. But it was you can die on softcore, so that was more doable. This league has been pretty much the hallmark: abuse early, abuse often. If you weren't able to use any of the abuse cases, I know a lot of people are feeling a little left behind right now in the economy. I was able to get a Mage Blood after like 7 days of grinding. So to be fair, like at least that one wasn't as broken. It did take me like 60 to 80 hours to grind out one mage blood. A lot of people were feeling very whack-a-mole with this. A lot of people were feeling left out. Like people that were watching streamers and could understand what was going on with either a no explanation or a quick explanation were able to replicate it. However, there were a lot of people that maybe didn't fully understand what was going on, or were waiting for like a full video explanation from people like me going like, hey, this is what we're doing, you should copy it. And by the time those videos were up, a lot of the strategies were nerfed and people weren't able to do them anymore. And obviously, like somebody pointed out in my chat, not everybody cares about the competitive feel of the game. It's just a game for them, and that's fine. But there are a lot of people who do get a lot of value and enjoyment out of feeling at least remotely competitive in the economy. And I think this league has made the gap between no-lifers and people that are quite good at the game but aren't quite at the like no-life level or aren't quite at the tier 17 level. Like the gap between somebody that's doing tier 16s and tier 17s are bigger than ever before, which is really unfortunate. So I've seen a lot of comments from people that are quite upset with all the changes and the nerfs and stuff. And it's not so much, in my opinion, that they shouldn't have nerfed them. I mean, the Beyond thing could have been done differently, where the Beyond thing was targeted instead of the Rogue Exile thing, although obviously servers could have been an issue. But leaving the Rogue Exiles a little bit more powerful was maybe not like the worst idea. However, the worst thing I think is more that it's occurred so much. Like there's been so many changes this league and so many holes, and there probably will be one or two more, because some of the things we've only been finding the last 3 days or the last 5 days. So there probably will be another few things that will be found and nerfed by people at the top. It's a little bit crazy that there's been that many things. It's obviously hard to test for everything. So I don't know what they could have done, because I think they were testing quite a lot, but obviously only a few people found these abuse cases, and only after 3 weeks of the league being out. So that's like, it's hard to test for, but it's very painful that so many things went wrong, I think, for a lot of people in the community. I'm thankfully still having a lot of fun, but I mean, we're definitely seeing a hit to the player retention. It's honestly, so much of the league would have been solved if you couldn't fish for mobs to begin with. Like if that, you would only get good mods in the next map if you cleared your previous map, or at least like 60% of it. Maybe the technology isn't there that they can't do it the same way it is in the campaign, but I honestly think that would have made such a big difference to the league. I mean, I don't know if this is just me as a hardcore player, but tier 17s are infinitely harder than Ubers. Like, I did tier 17s, and I'm getting Huck to hold my hand, I'm getting Nico to hold my hand, I'm getting shrines and picking up shrines before the boss, and I'm spending like 100 C rolling one map, and I'm struggle bossing with like a 700 divine character through one tier 17. Then I get enough fragments to finally kill an Uber, and I'm like, Maven down, no problem. I can do that in my explosive arrow character. The only idea I can have of the tier 17s being a middle ground between tier 16 and Ubers is with no league mechanic and completely white mods. And I don't know. It's still maybe harder than Ubers. Ubers are so incredibly easy compared to tier 17s. They are ridiculous. The only thing that is like the saving grace, if anything, of the tier 17s being easy is that they are incredibly squishy, so glass cannoning them down is quite doable, but I can't think of a single Uber that is harder than any of the tier 17s. But they do have very little HP. Like somebody said in chat right now, Ubers are a stepping stone to tier 17s. Definitely does feel that way. So that's the main things about the league. Pretty crazy. I'm still having fun. I have like the craziest character I've ever had. You really need it in this league. It's a very interesting league to play hardcore. But yeah, I just wanted to make a video talking about it. I don't even know like what they can really do. Like obviously, like they don't want abuse cases like that either. I think this is just this has never happened before either. Like only other abuse case I can think of that was really bad that needed to be fixed, outside of like, you know, dupe bugs and stuff, like Heist had like the prophecies that didn't get spent, and infinite six syncing and infinite chancing and infinite mirror shards in Incursion. And then the only other thing I can think of is insane map sustain in Breach when that was a very big deal. So it's not like we have these issues a lot where something is this broken and gets fixed. It's been a bit crazy. Hopefully we don't see things like this in the future. Very interesting league. Let me know what you guys think. I don't know if there's like massive solutions to avoid this in the future other than more testing and less radical changes. But yeah, either way, let me know what you think. Sub if you liked the video, but more importantly, try to die less than I do.